Now, I know many people have never thought of this, but has it ever come to your mind why doubles is by far the most popular game mode? I mean, look around. You have 3v3s, you have 1v1s, you have other extra modes, but why is everyone so in love with doubles in Rocket League? Well, today, we're gonna find out exactly why. A couple days ago, I asked the popular question, what game mode do you prefer to play in Rocket League? Now, of course, I always thought doubles was going to win this, regardless of how many people voted, but I didn't think it would win by this much. 66% of the people that voted for 2v2s as their favorite game mode or the game mode they prefer to play. 1v1s and 3v3s were practically tied, and then extra modes, they are completely dead. I don't know why. They just don't change. I don't know. Just okay. But after seeing these numbers, I decided to look into it and see why exactly 2v2s is the preferred game mode to play in Rocket League. Now, the biggest reason I found for why players prefer to play 2v2s in Rocket League, it's because it has the perfect balance between 1v1s and 3v3s. And what I mean by this is that like rotation and positioning are much easier to understand in 2v2s. And I personally agree with this because I feel like rotations and positioning in 2s is much easier to understand and execute than any other game on Rocket League. Because in 3v3s, positioning is just a tad bit more difficult, and rotations are usually always off because teammates never really understand how to play 3v3s, I guess. I don't even know. As for 1v1s, your positioning or rotation really relies on how your opponent plays. So there may be one game where you have to keep up much more pressure, and then another game you have to play much more passive in a 1v1. At the same time, I feel like 2v2s is more individually action-packed compared to 3v3s since like each player gets to hit the ball more often, but I feel like it doesn't carry the same pressure and intensity that comes with like a 1v1. Because in a 1v1, there's so much more pressure on you to perform and not miss a ball because the second you miss a ball is the second you get scored on and the intensity of the match just continues to grow throughout the game. But based on this first reason, a question that came to my head was, did the developers of Rocket League expect 2v2s to become more popular than 3v3s? Because I feel like 3v3s was meant to be the main way to play the game ever since the beginning of Rocket League. I mean, look at esports, for example. You don't see them playing 2v2s or 1v1s. You see them 3v3s when they're competing in RLCS or even Spring Lands. Now, I know we'll never probably get an answer to this question unless I specifically ask like a Rocket League developer or something, even though I'm not going to do that because those guys suck. But it kind of makes me think that 3v3 honestly requires more skill than a 2v2. Or else why would 2v2s have such inflated numbers in comparison to all other game modes? Because 3v3s is heavily reliant on team awareness and team communication, really. Whereas 2v2s, you don't really need to talk, you don't really need to do much with your teammate, but have common sense, literally. Because no matter the opponents you play in 2v2s, you're going to rotate the same way and you're going to position yourself almost the exact same way every single game you play. Now, the second reason I found for this was literally just people saying it just requires one friend to team up. And I can understand this because like usually getting a group of 3 to play Rocket League with me is the most stressful thing in the world sometimes because you never know when they're going to get on and who's going to get on. But for 2s, all you really need is one player to play with you, one friend to team up with you, and really you're just set. 75% of the time I'm playing 2s, I'm playing with a stranger who I have never even met before and don't even know. We're literally just quick chatting 90% of the game. And I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but I like playing with a random in Rocket League more than any of my friends. And it's not because I don't like playing with my friends Rocket League, but it's more because I feel like every game you need to adapt a different way. And having a new player on your team every single game helps you adapt to different situations in different games. Like for example, one game you could be playing a team who are always piling pressure on you and you're sitting back on defense 90% of the game and not pushing the ball as much, playing more passively and less aggressive. Whereas another game, you could have a teammate who's consistently chasing the ball and you're gonna just have to sit back and let him do what he wants. And that's something that I love and hate about 2s because I feel like 2s, you have to adapt to so many different types of scenarios and different types of play styles. Whereas compared to 3s, it's either just a volleyball match or just the most chaotic match you've ever seen in your entire life, literally. And as for 1v1s, I personally just don't enjoy the game mode as much because of the amount of pressure and intensity it relies on. And I just find it very boring to go one-on-one with someone. I'd rather have someone I can play with and just go absolutely berserk with in a game rather than, oh, woohoo, you know, go nasty, you know. I'd rather not do that, you know. Now, this next reason is more directed towards players who enjoy playing with people in general more, like 3s or 2s with anyone, like it could be a friend or a stranger, more than once. A reason why these people tend to play 2s more often is because when playing 3s, these players find the field way more chaotic and way more crowded. Most players who like to play with teammates and strangers on Rocket League lean towards twos more because they find the amount of space you get, the less chaotic numbers attacking the ball, and the time you have to make plays are way better. And at the same time, in a twos match, realistically, 50% of the game is heavily relied on two players on one team, and then the next 50% is of the other two players on the other team, meaning one player in a twos match basically contributes to 25% of the total impact on the game. Now, of course, another thing I found out that anyone with common sense would probably find out is that many players just find doubles way more fun. I find it way more fun. I know you that are watching probably finds it way more fun. I know my friends find it way more fun. And it's not because it's the game mode itself, it's rather what you're able to do inside that game mode. In doubles, I have so much more space, so much more time, and I'm able to get on the ball way more than I can in a threes match or even sometimes in a ones match. And I feel like that's how most players who main doubles feel about the game too. They just feel like in 3v3s, you're not able to get on in the action as much as you are in like a 2v2. And in a 1v1, sometimes it can be so one-sided that all you're doing at some point is just clearing the ball out of your half. To basically sum it all up, players play 2v2s because they personally feel like they can get way more in on the action than any other game mode they play. But something interesting that I did find was that ranked 2v2s is way more played than just a casual 2v2. Even though they're both the most played game mode in casual and ranked, you still see a spike in how many players play ranked 2v2s versus casual 2v2s. And even though casual 2v2s is still more than competitive 3v3s, I feel like it's because most players who play competitive 2v2s start by warming up on casual 2v2s, so that kind of correlates the high percentage you see in competitive 2v2s. And in ranked 3v3s, you can see that around 15% usually play it on a daily basis, which then correlates to 16% of the players playing comp 3v3s. So if we're assuming that most players from casual 2v2s and casual 3v3s are transitioning to their respective comp 3v3s or comp 2v2s, that means that 93% of players playing 3v3 casuals are shifting to 3v3 comps throughout the day, whereas we see in casual 2v2s, only 60% translate to comp 2v2s. Now, I know that doesn't really correlate to what the topic of this video is, but I still feel like that's important to take into consideration, because when you look at it from a holistic spectrum, many players who play ranked 3v3s or casual 3v3s, if we're assuming, shift between the two game modes, whereas in comp 2v2s and in casual 2v2s, it's not as big as a shift as you see. Some maybe veer away to maybe like Rumble or even 1v1 casuals or even 1v1 comp, but the point is still players are shifting away. Now, I know this graph is old, but you don't really see a hard shift in game modes ever, like in any game, unless something dramatic or drastic happens. So I feel like it still reflects nowadays Rocket League, just excluding the solo comp playlist, I feel like. But yeah, that's really gonna do it for today. I hope you learned what I learned. Like, that was very interesting. I found that very, very enticing and very fun to learn. I learned a lot from this and I really enjoyed it. I hope you do too. That's it for me, and I'm out.